All right, next up is a talk from AI Conversion Coach. This is an AI tool that helps you communicate more effectively during your rapport findings, utilizing AI-driven insights and strategies. This platform can help your retention, it can help care plan acceptance, amongst other things. In the land of tools aplenty, AI Conversion Coach is exactly what it says. It is here to help you convert patients at a higher level. Without further ado, here is AI Conversion Coach.
Hey everyone, Dr. Ryan Rieder here, and we are super excited to be speaking to you tonight. Wherever you are joining us from around the world, thousands of chiropractors joining us to find out how they can take their practice to the next level using AI. If you haven't heard of me before, my name is Dr. Ryan Rieder. I used to own and operate 8 offices, anywhere from $7 to $8 million every single year, 3,500 to 4,000 visits every single week. At any one time, 30 to 50 associates for over 10 years. And I'm here today with my good friend and incredible chiropractor, Dr. Dane Donohue.
So Ryan, first of all, I want to say, if you had to manage that many chiropractors, there's no, it's really understandable why you have no hair on your head.
That is why I have no hair on my head at any one time.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm Dr. Dane Donohue. I'm currently in my 34th year of practice. I've owned and operated my practice since 1991. I graduated shortly thereafter. I got into practice and have just been grinding away ever since. We developed a program called 8 Weeks to Wellness. I'm a 3rd generation chiropractor. Matter of fact, my son graduates next semester from life. He'll be 4th generation. So to say that I give my heart and soul to this profession is an understatement. But, you know, so many of my mentors, Ryan, taught me that it really comes down to results and relationships in practice. And, you know, you and I are close friends, but we really do want to elevate this profession. And one of the stumbling blocks that we see is day 1, day 2 communications. And I would say, if you ask me, you know, what are the 5 fundamental keys to having a successful, thriving, multi-million-dollar practice? I would tell you that your patient communications, and specifically day 1, day 2, are absolutely critical because they tie back into your results and your relationships, right? I always like to say, Ryan, you know, give people what they want, but show them what they could have. And so it's easy when a patient comes in and they tell you what their complaint is, but we know that chiropractic can help people beyond their chief complaint. And that's what I think chiropractors are missing the boat because of their lack of communication. So you and I developed this software to really help doctors understand what proper day 1 day communication looks like. What are the skills that are absolutely important? What are the critical steps in the day 1, day 2 that just can't be overlooked? So the software that we're going to show people, I think, really has the, I know it has the opportunity to really revolutionize your practice.
That's awesome. And also, clearly from the comfort of your home. We've both been doing this for a long time, both helping chiropractors from around the world. So without further ado, the background behind developing this really stemmed from some real science or art, science and art really, in the development of learning. It's something that Dr. Dane and I got together with, and we really looked at it and went like, what's missing? There's some great scripts, there's some great procedures out there, but why aren't chiropractors taking their practice to the next level? If you're watching this, you may have learned scripts, and you certainly know people that have learned scripts before that are still struggling in practice. If it was just a script, trust me, you would have found it by now. There's no shortage of chiropractors willing to sell it to you. So we came together and we're like, look, they've got to have good scripts, they've got to have good procedures, but if ready to take to the next level, there's this thing that's been missing and not spoken about, and it's called deliberate practice. And I'm going to share my screen in a moment, and Dr. Dane's going to run through that with us now. It's going to take us 5 minutes to do that. And then we're going to go into showing you the software. And you can see why it's been so game-changing for practices already, and gives people an opportunity to really drive this into neurology. It is by far the best day 1, day 2 experience, and the quickest way to take you from 0 to 100 when it comes to your day 1, day 2 in communications that we've ever seen in the profession. So if you're watching this right now, you have no doubt experienced the process of trying to get better at your communications. And there's always been a fundamental part of the process missing that hasn't been your fault. And this is the missing gap. So Dr. Dane's going to share this a little bit about how we came up to this product and how we thought this would close the gap between where so many chiropractors are and where they want to be. So Dane, talk us through it.
Sure. So, you know, the first principle is you can't change something that you're not aware of. So awareness is always going to precede change. And I know when I'm listening and role playing with my doctors or listening to doctors in live conversations with their patients, there are definitely things that are missing that doctors aren't aware of. And so I think the first thing is to be conscious that there's probably things in your day one, day two, that are missing, that are absolutely critical to you making that connection with the patient, right? Is that we have to connect with our patients for us to develop that relationship where they have a sense of trust. Trust is absolutely critical to developing good communications with your patients and being able to close them in care. Now, obviously, you have to deliver the goods too, Ryan, but it first starts with that patient trusting and also committing to their care plan. So there's a science, and it's called deliberate practice. And obviously, we all practice different things. We may have played sports. I golf. I practice golf. But this is called deliberate practice. And there's 4 critical elements that separate deliberate practice from just practice. And the first one is time, right? So if you look at all of the research, and I've read a lot of this research, I'm currently reading a book right now called The ABCs of Learning by a professor of Stanford who teaches education and learning, because I want to learn how to teach my patients, right? And the first thing is time. And we know this book, Outliers, we've all heard of it. We know the concept of 10,000 hours that actually was originated by a researcher named Anders Ericsson when he was studying violinists. And what he noticed that people that were at the top of their game, and I'm not talking about music teachers, and I'm not talking about people that know how to play the violin, I'm talking about the best in the world. And what separated these people from the others is they tended to practice at least 10,000 hours before they became an expert, right? So, and this is super critical, Ryan. We go into practice, right? We do our day one, day twos, but when do we practice outside of practice? And really, I'm not talking about 10,000 hours in your practice, Ryan. I'm talking about 10,000 hours outside of your practice hours. How many hours are you putting to practice outside of practice hours? Right? So second thing is you have to practice skills beyond your current skill set. And this is a real problem when I coach chiropractors, Ryan. They have to be teachable, right? They have to be coachable, because if they knew it, they'd be closing everybody, right? They wouldn't need a coach, right? So you have to practice your skills beyond what you currently know, right? And this is predicated on what you do know. How much time have you really put into learning your craft and your skill when it comes to your day one and day two? So you got to practice skills beyond what your current skill set is. Okay. Number 3 is chunking, right? This is how we learn, Ryan. If I was going to tell you, Ryan, hey, remember my phone number, I'm going to chunk that down and say it's 267-980-5660, right? Is that we don't go 267-980-5660, right? We know that people process information best when we chunk it down. So you'll see in the software, we've chunked the day one, day two down into its absolutely critical fundamentals. I mean, you cannot miss any of these chunked critical aspects of your day one, day two, which we'll show you in just a little bit. And the last one I think is the most important is we talked about and touched this, but you have to practice outside the demands of your current practice. Ryan, you've coached hundreds of chiropractors, and how many chiropractors are working on their day one and day two outside of practice hours?
Yeah, very, very, very few. And it's the thing that always gets me is that if we look at a professional sportsman, or if we look at a person learning a musical instrument, it's a foregone conclusion that that person has to practice the musical instrument outside of the concert environment. Or if you're a footballer, you're going to practice outside of the game day, right? So what most chiropractors do is their practice is in their game day, i.e. in front of the patients. Now we need to flip that so that we can start really mastering this art of communication and making a bigger impact on our community.
So one of the things, and you touched on it, Ryan, but one of the things that I think is absolutely critical that doctors aren't practicing is the art of listening, right? Yeah. And, there's a quote I always use, Ryan, but listening is so close to love that people oftentimes don't know the difference. Listening is so close to love that oftentimes people don't know the difference. And so when I'm role playing and I'm listening to a doctor, I'm listening for their listening skills. And do I have to repeat myself? And so many times I feel like, obviously we say that God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth and we should use them in those proportions. But oftentimes the doctor is not listening. Okay. So there's deliberate practice even in the skill of listening. And these are all concepts that we touch on the AI role play software.
So, Doctor, without further ado, let us show you the platform and exactly what it does. And we broke it up into a few sections. A lot of tonight, we've already spoken about, hey, there's a process of deliberate learning that needs to take place, or deliberate practice that needs to take place. But of course, the fundamental of that is to be doing good scripts or good processes that are proven in practice. I mean, Dr. Dane uses this stuff every single day of his life, and I've trained hundreds of my chiropractic associates and students on this exact same process and how to do an effective day 1 and day 2. And we've put that into the platform for you. So everything is there for you to watch. Dan, if you can show them the platform there.
Sure. So first of all, I think the word script gets a bad connotation in chiropractic, right? And so I tell my doctors, don't think of it as script if you don't like the word. It doesn't bother me. Actors have script and they're very believable when they're on movies, right? And actually the best actors are the most believable, but they're still working from a script. They didn't make up their own lines in the movie, right? It was scripted for them. They just made it incredibly believable, right? And so if you don't want to use the word script, use the word skills, right? But there has to be fundamental skills. Yes, there has to be effort. Yes, there has to be practice. And the people that are the best at this are the ones that are putting in the most effort and practicing. But there has to be a fundamental skill set. And I will tell you, I don't care where I go in this world, Ryan, I could take these skills and plug them into any practice and be successful. That's how confident. I'm not confident in a lot of things, right? Especially if you're married, right? It's just a lot of things that shake your confidence when you have children and you run a business. But the one thing I'm super confident is these scripts and skills work. And they work. I don't care what town you're in. I don't care what country you're in. There is a science to this. So what we're looking at now is the actual software. So when you log in here, guys, we broke this up into different sections. And obviously, we are communicating on day 1 and day 2 skills, right? But we had to provide learning resources for you guys to really understand the platform. So we have files that, first of all, we have files that we created. Now, I just pulled all of the things that I think are essential to your day 1, day 2, and Ryan and I put these together for you. So we have templates, right? So for example, we have our day 1 consultation form, and I can just click on this. And this is the actual examination consultation form that I use in practice, right? So we're giving you real tools that we use in practice. Another one I love, Ryan, is I have this right in front of my X-ray unit. So when patients turn to the side to get their lateral done, they're staring right at this image, right? And we know that people learn visually. So we're trying to give you the learning resources. That's why they're called learning resources that we actually use in practice. And you can see, we have a spinal degeneration poster. There's just tons of learning resources that you're going to have access to. Our exam form, this is the exact exam form that I use in my practice. And one of the things that we'll be doing is Ryan and I are going to be doing a monthly coaching call on the platform and how we use these resources in practice. Okay. So if we go back here, the way we broke this up is into day 1 and day 2. And Ryan, we talked about chunking, right? So we want to chunk your day 1 into its important component parts. So rapport building rapport is absolutely critical. Making a connection with patient, again, first impressions are what? They're lasting impressions. That's why we have to build rapport. Well, you know how many doctors don't know the fine art of building a rapport with patients? It sounds silly, but they just walk right in and say, hey, what are you here for, right? Instead of really connecting and developing some common ground with the patient, right? Each one of these sections, Ryan, we have a checklist, right? Literally a checklist. The checklist is kind of like, what's the important part we're trying to get at here? Well, we want to warmly welcome the patient and establish a point of commonality, okay? So, hey, do you live here in Newtown? Hey, I see that your brother, Ryan, referred you to the practice, and, Ryan is truly one of my favorite patients, right? So some bit of rapport, right? And then we have a script. This is the actual script that we use in the rapport building process. Hey, Ryan, how did you hear about us? Hey, Ryan, can you tell me who referred you to the practice? Hey, Ryan, I see you're here from you live in Newtown. where do you live in Newtown, right? So, or another one of my favorite is, hey Ryan. Now, a lot of times this is on my intake form, but I'll still mention, hey Ryan, I see that you've seen several of the chiropractors, or hey Ryan, I see that you've never seen a chiropractor before. So I want to thank you for giving us a try. And I'm a third generation chiropractor, so I really want to educate you on what we do in this practice, and I really hope that we can help you. But some form of rapport building. And again, we can't go through all of this, but each one of these is going to have a checklist, right? It's going to have a script. It's going to have a lesson, right? So each one of these is going to have a lesson, and the lesson is absolutely critical. And I don't know if you want to touch on this, Ryan, but you and I spent a lot of time developing these lessons out on each chunked part of your day 1 and day 2.
Yeah, what's been really cool for us to go through is when we were doing the chunking from the learning process, thinking of the end user, which is you, is that each area is chunked down to no more than like a 10-minute video. So first of all, the lesson is chunked down 10-minute video. But what was critical for us is sometimes, even when you see it done from stage or a conference or a seminar that's on day 1, day 2, they may demonstrate it from stage, Dane, because there's 4 elements to this. There's the checklist, there's the script, there's the lesson, which is really the why behind the script, which I think is missing a lot of the time. And then what I thought was incredibly important was to actually provide for our users role play for you to watch. Now, there's a lot of science on this actually, but watching a live demonstration or the real thing can sometimes throw it into the nervous system even more than just learning the script. So that was a critical part for it. So if Dane had to push play with this, not only were you're going to get the checklist, not only going to get the script, not only you're going to get
What brings you into the office today?
the process, but actually a live video of Dane doing that chunked down section. And that follows the whole process through the entire day 1, day 2, and the day 1 and day 2. One other key thing to mention is we thought there was an incredible tool to train your team members. So when you have a new associate on board, etc., there's a couple opportunities you have here. You've got a solo app and you've got a team app. Just one thing to mention is what will happen is as people go through the videos, it'll give you a tick every single time you've watched the video. And you as the primary user, let's say you own the app, the team app, you'll be able to watch how many of the videos your associates have done. You'll be able to track that. And you can even lock the role play function until they've watched 80% of the videos, so that they've done the training, and then they move on to the role play. So there's also gamification throughout. So once you've done your first video, 5 videos in a row, today I was role playing with the app, and the score I got, which we'll show you in a moment, beat my previous score. So it gave me a notification that congratulations, you're on an upward trend. These are important psychological triggers that help people engage with the process of learning more, that we've incorporated into the app for you to get the most out of yourself and your team.
It's so critical because we know, Ryan, that most learning and communication is nonverbal, right? It's tone of voice, it's body language. It's so critical that you see this in action. That's why we built in the role play function. So we just go through this, and then we'll show you how to actually role play with the AI. But we have rapport building, chief complaint, accidents and injuries, past or current treatment sought, activities of daily living. This would be like, what is the life impact of their problem, their past and family history. Ryan, we always say this, but how many drugs are people taking where chiropractic lifestyle could help them, but doctors don't know how to role play that. If I could help you, Ryan, with your blood pressure, and I'm not saying that I could, but if I could help you with your blood pressure more naturally without you having to be on this medication, is that something you would be interested in? Every patient I have ever said that to say, absolutely. They say, you know what? Yes, I would love to learn more about how to handle my blood pressure naturally. We just don't know how to ask that question in an appropriate and respectful way.
Yeah.
Right. So we also have commitment level and obstacles, explaining and educating subluxation. How do we do a proper touch and tell? How do we lead into diagnostic x-ray? How do we wrap up the exam, especially if you do education like a healthcare class? And then how do we hand over to the front desk? And I wish we had more time to go through each one of these, because each one of these is a lesson. We just don't have the time. And then day 2, you'll see that there's certain fundamentals of your day 2. So bringing them back into the room, right? Good news, bad news, today's visit, which today's visit's all about them, revealing results, whether you use digital postural pictures like we do, or digital x-rays like we do, or maybe use a subluxation station, right? then the big question, we have a big question that we ask to the patient as we segue into their treatment recommendations and finances. So then we have treatment recommendations and finances. How do you handle objections? How do you go over care plan? How do you go over finances? And then handing that patient over to the front desk and getting the patient's commitment on time and finances. So again, I hate that we're rushing through this because I would love to do 2 hours on how to do this properly. But what I would like to do now is just dig right into a AI role play with you just to see how powerful this is.
So what we've done is when you go to the next session, which is new consultation, it's broken up into day 1, day 2 again. But if you look at where it says help view, we have 3 sections there. That's almost like a toggle. You can, as your competence improves and as you understand the scripts more, you can choose to use. So Dane, if you click on chief complaint there, Dane, you can choose and scroll down. And if you click on checklist first, then you'll see what happens. It changes. So let's say you're at a point where you can role play just using the checklist. Great. But let's say you still need the script in front of you. Click on the script there, Dane. You'll be able to read the script word for word while you're role playing with the AI patient. That is such an important part of the process because sometimes you just got to drill it over and over and over with the script and the tool in front of you chunked down into each section. And something else we've included from experience is we've actually included something called the My Script. Well, Dave's going to show you how My Script works. We know in every state, country, culture, sometimes you may look at a script and go, hey, that word, it'd be nice if that word was a bit different or that was a bit different. You can actually put your own script or change the word in there. And that follows those sections. So you can change them to suit your practice in your context, if you just need to change something a little bit. So now let's go back to Dane's going to role play with you and he's going to keep the script up there while he's role playing. And he's going to actually change the drop down menu as he's going to the relevant part in the script. You'll see how powerful this is for you to do that. At the end, jumping ahead of ourselves a little bit, it's going to give you a full report on what you've just done. So I'll go through that with you in a moment, but Dane's going to show you the role play. He won't do the whole thing because as you guys know, a full day 1 will take some time. So he's just going to do the first few sections for you to see how this works with a real AI patient, and then we'll show you how the reporting works.
And just to say, guys, I'm going to let the AI patient pick their chief complaint, but I could go on here and say, hey, Sam, now I like using the word Sam because Sam can be a male or a female, right? But I could say, hey, Sam, I'd like to role play a 34-year-old female who has migraine headaches, who's taking thyroid medication. She's been having the migraine headaches for 10 years. We can literally feed the patient. So let's say that you had a difficult patient that you didn't close or you didn't connect with. You can go back and role play that exact patient in the software. So I'm just going to let the AI agent pick the chief complaint.
Hello, Dane. My name is Sam, and I'm looking forward to role-playing with you today. When you're ready, simply start by welcoming me to the practice.
Hey, Sam, welcome to our office. It's great to have you here. How did you hear about our office, Sam?
Thanks for having me. I heard about your office from a friend, Jessica. She said you're the best chiropractor in town. I'm hoping you can help me with some back pain I've been having. It's been bothering me for a while now, and I'm just looking for some relief.
Wow, well, those are high expectations to live up to. But have you seen a chiropractor before, Sam?
No, I haven't. This will be my first time. I'm a little nervous, but also hopeful that you can help me feel better.
Well, I think you're in the right place, Sam. I'm a 3rd-generation chiropractor. So I don't know a lot about a lot, but I know a lot about chiropractic. And we're here today to see if chiropractic can help you, okay?
That sounds good. I appreciate you taking the time to help me. I'm eager to learn more about how chiropractic care can help with my back pain.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what's going on with you.
Well, for the past few months, I've had this persistent dull ache in my lower back. It's not excruciating, but it's always there, you know? Sometimes it gets a bit sharper, especially when I've been sitting for too long or after a long day of work. I'm a graphic designer, so I spend a lot of time at my computer. I've also noticed that I'm not as flexible as I used to be. It's just this general stiffness and discomfort that's making it hard to really enjoy my day. I'm hoping you can help me figure out what's causing it and how to get some relief.
Got it. So you say you've been having it for a couple months. Have you had this problem prior than a couple months ago? Have you had any other prior point in your life?
I think I've always had a bit of a sensitive back, but it's never been this consistently uncomfortable before. Maybe a few twinges here and there over the years, but nothing like this persistent ache. It's really just in the last few months that it's become a daily issue.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. When was the first time you ever remember having any type of back pain? How old were you?
That's a good question. I guess I'd have to say I was probably in high school. I remember I used to play soccer and I took a fall during a game. I don't think it was anything serious at the time, just a minor strain, but looking back, maybe that's when it all started. It wasn't anything that kept me from playing or anything, but it's possible that was the first time I really noticed my back acting up.
Okay, and how often are you getting this pain? Is it more than once or twice a week?
It's pretty much a daily thing now. The dull ache is almost always there, and then there are days when it flares up and feels sharper, especially if I've been sitting at my desk for a long time or if I overdo it physically. So, yeah, definitely more than once or twice a week. It's
Yeah.
become a constant companion, unfortunately.
Got it. I'm sorry to hear about that. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say one's a mosquito bite, Sam, and 10 is pain that's so severe you would take yourself to the hospital. When this pain is at its worst, where would you put it on a scale of 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say when it's at its worst, it's probably a 6 or a 7. It's not unbearable. Like I said, I haven't gone to the hospital or anything, but it's definitely significant enough to make me uncomfortable and limit what I can do. It's a level of pain that makes me really want to find a solution.
Got it. And that's very common. And you said that it's dull, but it can be sharp. Now, do you notice any what we call radicular or radiating pain that travels into your butt or down into your leg?
No, I haven't experienced any radiating pain like that. It seems to be pretty localized to my lower back. I don't feel it traveling down my butt or into my legs at all. It's just that persistent ache and occasional sharpness right there in my back.
Got it. And then one of the things that we see, and this is very common when we see a case like yours and pain like yours, is that somewhere in your life you may have had an accident or a trauma that caused some damage that never healed properly. So I want you to think back over the course of your life and the years that you can remember, Sam, and tell me about the worst trauma that you've ever had to your body. These would be things like sporting accidents, broken bones, concussions, car accidents, things of that nature.
Okay, let me think. The worst trauma, well, I mentioned the soccer injury in high school, but that felt pretty minor. I guess the most significant one was probably a car accident I was in about 5 years ago. I was rear ended at a stop sign. It wasn't a high speed collision, but it was enough to jolt me pretty good. I had some whiplash and a stiff neck for a few weeks, but I didn't really think about my back at the time.
Got it.
I went to the emergency room, rest and take some pain relievers. I didn't have any major injuries that they found, but maybe that's related to the back pain I'm experiencing now. It's hard to say, but it's the most significant physical event I can recall.
Okay, got it. So you did go to the hospital, and do you know if x-rays were taken?
Yes, I did go to the hospital. I'm pretty sure they took x rays of my neck and maybe my upper back, but I don't recall them specifically mentioning taking any of my lower back. They were mostly focused on the whiplash symptoms.
Got it. And do you know if any chiropractor evaluated those x-rays for any type of misalignment, either in your neck or your lower back?
No, I don't believe a chiropractor looked at them. It was just the hospital doctors and radiologists who reviewed the x rays. I didn't see a chiropractor at that time.
Got it. All right, so we'll wrap it up there, just for time's sake. Now, obviously, guys, we could have went on to micro trauma and what she does. She was a graphic designer, so we know that she sits. This is the importance of listening, right? A lot of these questions are answered, earlier on in the consultation, but you'll see now it's going to generate a score. And because I didn't go through the whole day one and day two, I got a 33%. But the cool thing about this, it's going to give me some really cool analysis. If I take a look at the overall analysis and summary, it's going to just give me a summary of the actual role play. But then if I look at the analysis, it's going to tell me about my tone, which was supportive. It's going to tell me at my pace. One of the things I learned about myself, Ryan, through using the software is that my pace is a bit fast at time. Not as fast as you, Dr. Ryan, but it can be pretty fast, right? And then you'll see, did I achieve the critical elements of day one? Did I build rapport? Did I answer the 7 questions of the chief complaint? And I did achieve those, but obviously I didn't achieve accidents, injuries, because we didn't talk about micro trauma, right? So you can see it's giving me an analysis. The other thing I love is I can go back and actually listen to this script. I can get the transcript of the actual whole conversation. It's pretty cool.
It's very cool. So it gives you an opportunity to really get analysis for the first time ever. And I can tell you a couple of things that are in development for those of you who are looking at this right now. We are already in discussions with certain EHRs who have in-consultation recordings to help you with your soap notes that will be pulling into this in time. That's actually going to be able to analyze your in-consultation during with a live patient in time. That's something that's in development at the moment, together with uploading recordings of your day one, day two with patients. And that's all coming out in the near future. So this is our day one, day two AI product that we've really started using, and we've already racked up over 1,000 role plays with chiropractors around the world. And if you want to give this a go and try this out yourself, we have a 7-day free trial. All you got to do is click on the link. It'll be somewhere in the chat or on this process, or go to www.aiconversioncoach.com. There'll be a button on there, a link on there. You click, it's just a 7-day free trial, and go through the process. And you'll be able to try this out completely free of charge for 7 days. And then choose solo app or team app. You'll have 5 users that you can have on the team app for you to start mastering your communication. There's never been a better opportunity for you to practice this with world-class scripts, world-class processes, and actually watch it being done by Dane throughout the process. Anything else you want to say about it, Dane?
No, I just want to mention that obviously, guys, when you would go to a day 2 with this role play, it's going to pick up that day 2 as if that patient has returned for their day 2. So I think it's important to mention that. And the thing, again, I want to mention this about delivered practice, guys. You've got to put in the time, number one. Number two, you've got to start really learning skills beyond the current skills. I don't care how long you've been in practice, Ryan, you can improve your skills. And I will tell you, Ryan, I've been in practice 34 years. I have improved my skills tremendously in the past 2-3 months using this software. I mean, it has advanced my skills immensely just in 2 months, right? Because of what we talked about. Number 3, we got to chunk this down into its important component parts. And the last thing, guys, is that you have to practice this outside the demands of your practice schedule. That is deliberate practice. And this AI role play software really is going to help you hit the mark on all 4 of those key scientific concepts when it comes to not only deliberate practice, but the whole goal of deliberate practice is so that you can become an expert at day 1, day 2.
Just so to show you the level that this works at, is that it'll show you how many, obviously, because we just logged on for you guys. If you scroll up for me, Dane, then it'll show you how many of the videos we've watched, or how many of the videos so if there's a team tab there, it'll actually have everyone logged in there. This one obviously doesn't, but it'll show their progression. It'll show the progression of each of your associates and your progression. Are your scores going up or going down? How many, like a daily streak, how many role plays you've done, overall tone, and then actually track how many day 1 role plays you've done and how many day 2 role plays you've done. And while we've started using this in my coaching group, is we've created a challenge. So we can actually see everyone at a user level. I can see how many videos my students have watched. So it's very easy for a student or associate, for you to actually say, hey, I see you haven't watched the video, or how many times they've role played, which has been an absolute game changer from accountability perspective for the first time ever. I know we always get told, yes, I learned the script, yes, I role played, but now we can actually see and hear because we get the recording and the transcript. So I thought I'd just mention that. Very cool. We've never had this level of control over scripting and templating and role playing with our team.
So guys, we hope you enjoyed this. We really do think it's revolutionary, and we hope that you log on aiconversioncoach.com. Go on there, guys, sign up. I really think, just like myself, I think it's really going to move the needle when it comes to closing in your practice.
See you guys soon.
If you want the best deals on products and services, along with some of the best speakers in chiropractic, you're going to want to register for our next summit coming up soon. Click on down below and register today.